The second round of the NBA playoffs starts tomorrow, and the first game we're going to see is Cleveland versus Indiana. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my three biggest questions heading into that series. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Court Vision. And I'm going to start off in this one by saying I'm kind of an idiot. In my last video, I said that I was going to be talking about Oklahoma City versus Minnesota next, and that's wrong for two reasons. One, that series wouldn't start until after this one, the Cleveland versus Indiana, even if it existed, but it also doesn't exist because OKC is playing the winner of Nuggets Clippers, which Game 7 is being played tonight. For some reason, I thought Lakers Minnesota was the 4-5 series, but it wasn't, so that's my fault. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. My first question for this series is, do the Cleveland Cavaliers decide to start DeAndre Hunter? You know, Max Strus has been their go-to starting three for most of the season, and he started all four games in round one against Miami. But in my opinion, there's a very good case for DeAndre Hunter to start in this series, specifically based on matchups on both sides of the ball. In terms of defense, DeAndre Hunter is a better defender specifically for Tyrese Halliburton. The rest of the Cavs starting lineup with Max Strus doesn't have a great option for defending him. Either you put one of Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland or Max Strus on Tyrese Halliburton, and I think Tyrese Halliburton would be happy with any of those matchups. But if you start DeAndre Hunter, he's a much bigger, more physical defender who might be able to bother Tyrese Halliburton a little more, prevent him from getting into his playmaking bag, getting downhill. Second thing is the offensive matchups and how it forces the Pacers to have to make some tough decisions. Because the Pacers themselves don't have a great defensive answer in their starting lineup for DeAndre Hunter. Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard are both great defenders, but Indiana would ideally want to have those two on Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, which theoretically would leave Tyrese Halliburton on Max Strus if he was in the starting lineup, which Indiana is okay with. But if you put DeAndre Hunter in instead of Max Strus, having Halliburton on him is a lot less justifiable for Indiana, and it forces them to make that choice. Do you either have one of your better defenders like Aaron Nesmith or Andrew Nembhard? It would probably be Nesmith just because of the size. Move over to DeAndre Hunter and then leave Halliburton on Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell? Or do you let Tyrese Halliburton defend DeAndre Hunter and try to hold up on his own there? Neither of those are really great for Indiana. So I think starting DeAndre Hunter would be good, but we have to see if Cleveland's willing to do it. My second question for this series is, how does Indiana defend the double big lineups for Cleveland or defend the bigs in bench minutes? In the starting lineups, they probably just have Miles Turner defend Jared Allen, standard like that, and then put Pascal Siakam on Evan Mobley. That kind of just makes the most sense to me. You know, Pascal is big and physical enough as a defender to do a good enough job on Evan Mobley, and they don't really have another option. Thinking scheme-wise, how willing is Indiana going to be to help in the paint on Evan Mobley or Jared Allen? Because Cleveland is, as we know, a lethal shooting team, number one in the NBA in volume this season. And they have those solid offensive protocols, and if you give them those kick-out opportunities, they'll capitalize on them. But if you don't help in the paint on, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, then you have to trust that Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam will be able to hold up inside on those defensive matchups and in pick and roll coverage against big-to-big passing that Cleveland likes to get to. In terms of the bench minutes at the 5 for Cleveland, with either just Evan Mobley or just Jared Allen out there, Indiana would probably have Pascal Siakam be the number one defensive assignment there, because he was playing the 5 in Indiana's bench minutes in round one. In round one, they were able to get away with it a little more because Milwaukee doesn't have the personnel to really punish that. Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez aren't really super reliable go-to, mismatch attackers or whatever. And even when they did, I think Indiana schematically was fine letting them get away with that. The big problem for the Pacers is they don't really have a backup 5 option, because their number one backup 5, Thomas Bryant, didn't really play at all in round one. He averaged under 10 minutes a game in the series, and he didn't play in game 5 at all. Is Indiana willing to throw him out there in bench minutes just to have that size against Evan Mobley or Jared Allen? Or do they just say, whatever, let Pascal do it, because he's probably going to do just as well as Thomas Bryant would while being much better on offense? Beyond that, do we get like Jarris Walker or Obi Toppin being asked to defend Evan Mobley maybe? In my head, that feels like food for Evan Mobley, but the Pacers don't really have a ton of size to work with, and these are the next biggest guys that they have, the next best options that they have. But I mean, Obi Toppin's not really known for his defense, and then Jarris Walker doesn't really play many minutes. So it seems like it would probably be unlikely that these guys see that matchup, except maybe as like a last resort or due to injury or something like that. And the last thing to consider with defending Cleveland's bigs is how willing is Indiana to let Evan Mobley shoot? I mean, Evan Mobley's been a good three-point shooter this season, and he was a pretty good shooter in round one as well on pretty reasonable volume. He was 8 for 17 across the 4 games in round one. Over the course of the season, he shot 37%, albeit on kind of limited volume. Are the Pacers going to dare him to shoot? Are they going to load up a little more attention inside and on Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland? Something kind of to watch going forward in that series. Because if they dare him to shoot and he's not knocking him down, that opens the whole thing up for them defensively. But if they dare him to shoot and he is knocking it down, then they just have to play it more straight up. Third and final question for this series is, what kind of level are we going to get out of Bennedict Mathurin? Indiana is going to need Bennedict Mathurin to be a big scoring threat off of the bench if they want to have a chance to keep up offensively in this series. Cleveland's offense is super, super high powered. And don't get me wrong, Indiana's is good too, but Cleveland's has been on another level, especially in round one. They looked really good against a pretty decent Miami defense. And if Indiana, wants to keep up with that scoring, Mathurin would be a big part of that off the bench. In round one, Mathurin had a really bad series though, scoring the ball. He averaged 12 points on pretty bad efficiency, and that resulted in him getting less minutes towards the end of the series. He played 41 minutes in game one, 25 in game two, and then an average of about 16 minutes in games 3 through 5. Over the course of the series, he had 38% shooting from the field, really bad. And from 3, he was even worse, 16% on almost 4 attempts a game. So really damaging shooting from him. His true shooting wasn't much better, 52%, which was partially lifted by the fact that he got 21 free throws in games 1 and 2. I'm not expecting him to be world-beatingly efficient, but I would expect or want him to, lift his level up to at least what he was kind of at, a little more in the regular season. Since the trade deadline, in the regular season, he averaged 16 on 43% from the field, but most importantly, he had a great true shooting at 57.5%. Just because of how well he's able to get to the line. So if he can get to the line this series, maybe get some guys in foul trouble as well, that would be huge for Indiana off the bench. Last concern for him, obviously, is three-point shooting. Like I said, he was really bad in that round one series, but in general, he's not a great three-point shooter. Over his career, he's 34%, but this season, since the trade deadline, he shot like 30%. So for Indiana's offense, for their spacing in the bench units against a defense that's very balanced like Cleveland's is, his shooting is going to be huge to watch. So if he can pick that up, that'll be a big boost for Indiana. And that's all I've got in this video. The next one will be Oklahoma City versus LA or Denver, not versus Minnesota, because that series doesn't exist. Thank you everybody for watching. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.